Okay, we're going to do the cast off now. So we've got our project completed. We have our knit row in our scarf, which was just the pattern of knit one row, knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, and repeat. We finished our last knit row. We're going to knit one, purl one. And then we're going to cast off in the knit pattern. And there we go. Now to begin casting off, we are going to just do the knit stitch. So we'll be right back and we'll start that. To cast off your project, you'll read your pattern and cast off however it tells you to. Sometimes it will tell you to cast off in pattern, or you can just do a knit cast off, which is what we're going to do today. So you're going to start by knitting your stitch and putting it onto your right hand needle. Knit your second stitch, put it on your right hand needle. Take your first stitch and slide it over your second stitch and off the needle. Knit your next stitch. Take this stitch that's behind the new one and slide that off. Knit your next stitch. And slide the back stitch off. Oops. Knit your next stitch, slide the back stitch off. Knit your next stitch, slide the back stitch off. And try to keep your tension even. You don't want it to be too tight because then it won't look the same as your other end where you cast on. Knit your next stitch. And cast off that stitch. Knit your next stitch. Slide the back stitch over. And then when you get to your final stitch, you're going to still do the same thing. Slide your stitch over, pull up your loop a little bit, slide your needle off, and you can pull your yarn tail through. tighten it up, and there we have completed our project. And then, excuse me, and then we are going to weave in our ends, and I'll come back and show you how to do that piece. Okay, now that we've completed our cast off and completed our project, we have two ends that need to be woven in. We have our cast on edge with our first tail, and we have our cast off edge with our second tail. And all you're gonna do, you're gonna need some kind of needle, any kind of yarn needle. Mine has a little curve on the tip. You don't have to have that. You can have a straight one. I have a knitting machine and I use the ones with the curved tip. You just have to make sure the eye of the needle is big enough. I don't know if you can see that. Big enough to get your yarn through. And you may have to clip the end of your yarn so that it's not fraying. And slide that in there. And you're just going to weave your tail. I like to weave it through the end here, back and forth in the stitches, so that it disappears and looks like part of your knitting. And I usually do a few up and down. Because you don't want it to come loose as you're wearing it. And this is a little bit wool. Sometimes when you're using a wool yarn, it will kind of fuse itself together. And then sometimes I'll go this way just to give it a little bit extra. And then you can just clip that off flush. Just be careful not to cut your project. Let's do this side. There's some people do really specific stitches when they weave their ends in. I don't do a lot of hand sewing, or I just kind of blend it in. And then the same thing, just go up and down a few. Whoops. My yarn came unthreaded. And sometimes, see how big that is? I don't like that. I like it to be smaller. I don't want to have a big loop that looks like it doesn't belong. So I'll just pull it out and redo it. You want to be happy with it. And that would drive me insane. So I can't have that there. And you just work it in until you get it how you want it to look. Especially if you're doing a gift, you want it to look really nice. just cut this off. Don't lose your needle. I have a habit of, I've tossed a few away with my pieces of yarn that I don't need anymore. And here is our completed scarf. This is the back side, and this is the front side. And I didn't use more than one ball of yarn, just for purposes of the video, but you can certainly add 2-3 balls depending on how long you want it, or if the person you're making it for is really tall, you may want the 3 balls of yarn. You can also make it wider if you choose to. You can make it narrow. Just remember to use an odd number of stitches, and you can do it any way you'd like. You can customize it to your own liking. Then coming up videos, we're going to make some fingerless mittens in this same pattern. We're going to make a headband in this same pattern, like an ear warmer type headband, and teach you some other skills. And we have some really exciting projects planned for the coming months. So remember to like, subscribe, and share, and keep tuning in. And we'll see you soon on our next video. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Happy knitting.